No matter what you think about Max Verstappen, I think we can all agree that he is a very fast Formula 1 driver. And he also seems to love the sim. So in this video, I'm going to break down some of his best overtakes and driving in simulators. So here we are, iRacing, Suzuka, I think. Always a good, oh, he has actually gone for the move. Oh, that was tight. Oh, I think we can say that's a fairly typical Max overtaking maneuver. And he's got it done. He's got it done. I don't know if there's any contact, but he seems like he's got it done. So let's watch that back in half speed, just so we can see exactly what's happening. He's got a good run coming through here. Don't know if the car in front got a little bit of a slide, ran a little bit wide. Max has got a decent run coming off here. It's probably just catching him a little bit. And he's already got in his mind that he's going to be overtaking. Gets the platform of the car here. He gets the platform of the car flat rather than having the car turning. So that means that the weight is more evenly distributed across the front axle, meaning that the car will decelerate slightly quicker, meaning that he can brake a little bit later. Obviously, it isn't the ideal line then coming into the hairpin because it's really tight up on the inside, but that doesn't matter when you're doing a maneuver like this. As long as you can get through and then block the driver from getting on the throttle a little bit earlier than you, you've done all of your job. So then he's up the inside because he's braking later. It is a bit of a lunge, but it's nice and clean. Does run a little bit wide. His minimum corner speed here will be a little bit slower than it really should be, but by that time it's already done. He's done the maneuver and then he can get himself calm again and focus on catching the next car ahead. So here we are again in the BMWs. I think it's the same race actually. Oh, he's gone for it. Oh, that's a bit of a lunge. Oh. that was a bit of a lunge. I can't see that he wouldn't have had any contact there. So let's watch that back again in slow motion, but he was coming from a long way back there. And this is one thing where I find that real world drivers might struggle with in the sim. They don't leave the space. And I know from my own experience that it is quite difficult to change the way that you think. When you're in the real world and you're alongside somebody, they know that you're here, they know that you're there because they can feel it, they can hear you, and they can see through their peripheral vision. But in the sim, that isn't quite as easy, which is why you sometimes probably need to give a little bit more space. So in this position here where Max has dived up the inside, the driver might not have seen him until late, or may not have even seen him at all. So here we are, 130R down into the chicane. Driver in front's moved over to the left. Max has already made the decision that he's going to go for it. That is a big lunge. That's a big lunge. I wouldn't be surprised at all if they made contact there. And he really left everything, as we probably see him do sometimes in Formula 1, down to the other driver to not have a crash. He really stuffed it up the inside there. So that's a pretty aggressive move there from Max. Let's watch it back one more time, just to see if there's anything the other driver could have done. So the driver could see here, they maybe could have moved across just to block Max off, but by the time it gets to this point, Max has given him no option. Yeah, it's a bit of a lunge, but the other driver could have defended and it's just stuffed it up the inside there, and as long as he didn't run past the track and onto the grass, where you might argue that then he's actually been a little bit too ambitious, he still made the corner. Granted, it was a little bit deep, but he still made the corner. So again, we're at Suzuka in the BMWs. Oh, into the chicane again. Just made a bit of contact there. The driver in front was very sensible actually in the fact that he didn't turn in too much. I need to watch it again. Coming down the start-finish straight, Max is in the toe. Pulls out just exactly the right time as you'd expect. And then he pinned him over to the right. That's quite interesting there. Sends it around the outside. Oh! Well, I need to watch that back. And again, this is what's difficult about sim racing. In a move like that, I can't tell if there was contact on the right-hand side. It's too difficult to see from just this one on board. So let's watch it back all the way again, because that was a really interesting sequence of corners. So the driver in front is on the normal line. Max dives out late on the brakes, really asking for some trouble here. Like when you put yourself in that position and you haven't made the move stick and you're just kind of halfway up the inside, that's not really a fair move. giving that space on the inside here where Max has actually made a mistake and not made the overtaking manoeuvre stick. There definitely wasn't enough space there. He wasn't close enough. He wasn't late enough on the brakes. It was a half-hearted move. And these are the ones that get you in trouble. These are the ones that cause contact when you're doing a weak overtaking manoeuvre. Really good maturity from the driver in front, giving him space there, because yes, Max was at fault there. It wasn't a good move. But if it had turned in and been on the normal racing line, then they would have both had contact and potentially both spun off the track. The problem is here now, the car in front has got a bad exit and Verstappen's in the tow, which means that the car in front is now at a disadvantage and potentially could get overtaken again. So Max dives out at the right time. This is the interesting bit here. He dives out, keeps it here so the other car can't pull out, and then he pulls out so he can open up the line and get in later on the brakes. I don't think there was any contact there. It happened just at the right point in the corner where he would have needed to add a little bit more steering on. When you run around the outside sometimes, you're running out of track on the exit and you might have to tweak a little bit more steering angle, which means as you're decelerating, the front grips up, it turns and it rotates on the rear and the rear comes around as it did here. So let's just watch it back and see if Max adds that little bit of extra steering angle. It's going in? No, not really, but it could be just that he's going in so fast and asking a little bit too much of the car because he's trying to get that overtaking manoeuvre done. And of course, there is the possibility that there might have been a little tag from the car in the inside, but we can't see it from this camera angle. So next up, we are at Road Atlanta at the Petit Le Mans. Getting a good run down. Oh, that's late. Ah, he's got it done. That was late. That was very late. But he's got it done. Let's watch it back again. So he's getting a decent run, but it's not like he's super close. Pulls out, get the platform of the car flat, and then he's late on the brakes, and he sneaks through the gap. Runs in deep, yes, of course. But there you go, you get it done, and the car runs out of space on the outside. Let's watch it back in slow motion and break down what he's actually doing here. Now, what I'm doing here is breaking down what Max is trying to achieve, not whether this is a fair move or not. In my opinion, it is a fair move, but that is not what we're here to discuss. We want to discuss the technique. So, like I say, he's getting a decent run, but it's nothing too great. Then what's important here is that he jinks the car out just about now, gets the platform of the car flat. If you're braking when the steering's turned at all, you're not going to be able to brake as late because the weight is not transferred equally across the front axle. You need to jink out, get the car flat, and then get on the brakes. And that way, you'll be using all of the grip from both of the front tyres and both of the rear tyres. The car isn't rolled over at all. At this point, he knows that he needs to brake later than the car in front. If he brakes at the same time, then he's just not going to get the manoeuvre done. If he brakes just a tiny little bit after, then they might have contact at the apex. He needs to get past in the braking zone, get alongside and a little bit ahead so that the other driver can see him and doesn't turn into him, which is what he essentially does. Look how we're coming in much quicker here on the brakes. Now we are fully alongside the driver on the right, if not a little bit ahead, so they can't turn in. They can now probably see Max, even if they're on a single screen. And we go a little bit further, and of course we're going to run deep because we're late on the brakes. But look at the car in the mirror. He's stuck. He can't get on the throttle. Sometimes he could cut back and get on the throttle, but in a tight chicane like this, where you've got to come back the other way, it actually makes it a bit more difficult for the car behind in this instance to get on the throttle earlier than you. So Max manages to block him here, and then he's gone. Now, they have lost time on the pack in front of them, but Max has got the manoeuvre done here. So it's a good block pass, nice and late on the brakes. And this type of manoeuvre is something that we see quite commonly in real world racing. It's quite an aggressive move, but you can get the job done, and Max has moved up a position. So here we are on board at Road Atlanta in a GT race. Super close to the car behind, he's got nowhere to go. Oh, that was a good move. That was a good move. Has he gone around the outside? No. So he backed out of that one. Quite a tricky part of the track. Could have easily ended up in contact. What an amazing circuit this is. And he's just following the driver in front. Obviously knows the circuit really well, using his peripheral vision on all the braking zones as you might expect. Being patient, just waiting for that opportunity to come if it presents itself. He's just focused on the car in front, trying to just sit in the tow. Is a train of cars. Car in front's trying to make a move around the outside. And this is where we're hoping that they are going to slow each other down. We're going to get a good exit, nip it up the inside here. Yep, there we go, and away we go. And he's passed both of them. Is he? Has he got it done? No, there's one on the outside still. But he got one of them, and then he's in the tow now. Oh, and he's late on the brakes. That was dodgy, and they made contact. Yeah, of course. So that was a dodgy move, the second one. So let's rewind. Let's go back and look in half speed and just break it down a little bit more. What's interesting here is that he followed the train when necessary. It's not like he's just lunging all the time. And of course, this is a case of risk management, risk for reward. Yes, always when you're overtaking, there is a little bit of a risk because, you know, it's a complex series of things that are happening out on the track. But you want to try and minimize any risk that you can. So he's sat in the line waiting for his opportunity. And when these two cars ahead start battling, that's when you know as a driver that something's going to come up. Just in the fact that the cars are, first of all, slowing each other down because you're not on the ideal line. And secondly, just the opportunity because it's a more complex situation. So one car on the right, these two are now going to slow each other down here, and this is it. Max has cut back more than he probably would have normally so that he can get up the inside here, get on the throttle early, and launch himself up the inside of both of the cars here. Bravery and trust in the car on the outside to keep your foot stuck in there. And the car's still on the outside here, right? So Max is just getting it on the right line. He just lifted a little bit to get the nose tucked in. And this is probably where he's too ambitious. This next braking zone is too short to do a lunge like this. So he's gone for it, got the platform with the car flat, got on the brakes, hoping to shorten the distance to the apex. But there's just not enough room. And then unfortunately he understeers. You can see the contact there and fires the other car off. So the first move was good. Second move was too ambitious to say the least. And he fired the car off on the outside. So a bit of an unfair move there by Max. So here we are on board the F3 at Charlotte Roval. Oh, so close to the wall. And what's interesting here is just look at how smooth he is on the steering wheel. There's so little input. He's turning the car very precisely with the pedals here. When you see the car rotate a little bit more or a little bit less, that's because of what he's doing on the pedals. Look at how smooth he is. And that's what you need to be quick in iRacing. This feel and this smoothness, using all the road. Look at that, right up to the wall. You know, a lot of the time you see drivers hacking away at the wheel like this, taking big chunks, and it looks fast, but it isn't. Especially in sim racing. That happens in the real world too, but in sim racing you need to be so precise and so smooth. Scrub the tyre as little as you possibly can, especially in a single-seater like this. Coming towards the end of the lap now, just the final chicane to go. And again, we didn't see any oversteer apart from that last little bit in that lap. The car was super, super smooth. Okay, so here we have the two Maxes here at Daytona. I've seen this before, but let's go back and break it down, and Max wins the race. Right, let's break this down and see exactly what Max is doing and see how you can use that in your sim racing. Right, so let's just establish it. Here at Daytona, the toe is really important, especially at this part of the track where you can follow through the chicane and then get in the toe for the win across the line. And Max knows that, of course. So we're coming down to the quick chicane now, the dogleg chicane. Max is going to the inside. So here's the car, Max Verstappen's the car in front. We've got another Max in this car as well. So Max goes down to the inside, trying to get him to go around the outside, and he's just really stuffed him up here because to go around the outside here is quite difficult. It's a high risk move, and you can just see on the inside that Verstappen's just there. He's put himself in this really awkward position. And also it'd be quite confusing at this point because you wouldn't really expect him to do that. And now Verstappen's getting such a good run off this chicane that he's breaking the toe. What the onboard car should have done though was probably wing it around the outside there a little bit more. But of course, that's a high-risk strategy, especially when you're not expecting it. Verstappen just kind of lifted off and slowed down and put himself in this really awkward position. So really, really clever driving there from Verstappen. If you enjoyed this video, check out these other videos where I break down sim racing overtakes. If you want to get faster on track, check out these other videos. Cheers, and I'll see you next time.